Ladies and gentlemen, there's an Atlanta police officer who kicked a mentally ill woman in the head while she was handcuffed because he's a piece of shh. That's why it happened. Here's the video. Okay, let me give you some background to this. So there was a 911 call of a woman with a gun. There was no woman with a gun, by the way, but according to the narrative, there was a 911 call. Officers responded and they realized quickly this was a call for a mental health emergency. The woman was handcuffed and they were waiting on the emergency care workers to arrive. The woman, according to the report from APD, she did spit on the officer's boot, which caused the officer, can we bring that video back, to do this? There's a whole lot I want to say about this cop that I'm not allowed to say because of the language restrictions on the show. But holler at me after the show and I will tell you exactly how I feel. This woman was going through a mental health crisis. Her aunt says her name is Ashley. The officers involved, one is a sergeant. The man you see kicking her is a sergeant. That means he has rank, he has authority, and he has likely been on the force for a while. The lower rank officer did absolutely nothing. So you have a black male, a black female. Black female does nothing, she does not flinch. What happened to the good cops? There's another white male approaching, a white male cop. They don't do anything, they don't report this guy, nothing comes out of it. So now he has been relieved of duty pending an investigation. He has not been fired, he has not been arrested. He is relieved of duty pending an investigation. That is part of his due process. He's going to get that. The government will not be able to take away his rights, even though he took away the rights of this particular woman by physically violating her, a true deprivation. Now, here's the issue. You have multiple problems here. Obviously, the fact that they were well aware that this woman was suffering a mental health crisis. You can't make the argument they weren't aware or they didn't have the training. You can't make that argument. They knew. They knew why she was there. They knew why an ambulance was on the way. And this man still kicked her. And then the woman, the officer, under the tutelage of this sergeant, she doesn't flinch because it's part of the culture. It's everyday business for them. Nobody stood up for this woman, but one person standing in that apartment complex recording. At the end of that recording, that witness said she went to that police officer and said, "Why did you do this? Why did you kick her?" Police officer lied and said, "Oh, I didn't kick anybody." He didn't realize he had been recorded. The witness also said that wasn't the first time she was kicked. She was kicked the first time as she rolled down the hill. The kick that you see on video is actually the second kick, according to the witness. Adrienne, do you see a crime here?
Oh, without question, this is very much a battery for what this officer did. And the thing that really got me is when I initially saw it, I automatically thought, had it not been recorded, this officer would have denied it. So now having you essentially confirm that with the story of the woman who was recording him confronting the officer about it, it's just these officers are so used to being able to operate with impunity, to be able to assault us, to infringe upon our rights, to plant evidence. All of these things that they have gotten away with for so very long. And this sergeant's behavior shows that they are not used to actually being held accountable for there to be documentation. They have been able to lie, to test a lie, to do it all with impunity. And this time it did not work. And this is indeed a crime. And I do not know why charges have not been brought against this man yet. It's great that he's been relieved of his duty, and however that ends up playing out against him in the administrative role, perfectly fine, go ahead, go with that. But let's talk about the criminal role here, because what he did to that woman was without question a crime.
Absolutely. Now, remember, you have multiple races involved. You have multiple genders involved. That blue seems to trump all of that because none of them stood up for the victim in this case. The second lower ranked officer standing nearby, she was also placed on administrative leave Monday, the day authorities became aware of the incident, reports the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. This is a statement from the Atlanta police. They say, upon reviewing the video, the actions of the sergeant appear to be unacceptable. And we are also concerned with the apparent lack of reaction from another officer present during the incident. So here's what I want to say. People support the police. Watch this. If APD locks his ass up, I promise you the people will support the APD for doing so. That's called supporting the police. It is about what level of accountability are you willing to exhibit on behalf of the community that you are sworn to protect and serve. The APD use of force policy states, this is their actual policy. It states, the Atlanta Police Department recognizes and respects the value of human life and the right of people to be secure in their persons and property. Sworn employees who are in the performance of their duties encounter situations where the use of force reasonably appears necessary to effect an arrest or detention, overcome resistance, control a subject, or protect themselves or others from injury or death, will only use that force which is reasonable and necessary in order to accomplish lawful objectives. That is the policy. There was no threat. There was no attempted apprehension. None of this happened. The woman was handcuffed on her stomach, waiting on transport to Grady Hospital for her mental health issue. The family confirmed that she was on medication. She was off of her medication, which caused the mental health episode. Reports indicate no charges ended up being filed against the handcuffed woman, who officers requested to be taken to an area hospital for a mental health evaluation. A damn shame. So at this point, here's what I'm saying, because in the city of Atlanta, Adrienne, literally they just passed a new rule that said all officers have a duty to intervene when they see something like this happen. So that's why the officer who was watching this is now on suspension as well, right? So you have a duty to intervene rule. I think it should be a statute. I think it should be an actual law, because that's how you start changing the culture. It's not just because bad people do bad things. It's because people that call themselves good sit back and do nothing.
Absolutely, they have enjoyed being able to just look the other way and to say they didn't see it or to claim it didn't happen. And now that has been taken away from them. And so there will actually be accountability. But you're absolutely right, to have that rule be enforced in a legal way would be hopefully very much an affecting change, because the fact is that so many people are sitting by, like you said, those good apples are letting the bad apples rue the day. And if people do not speak up, step up, and if by putting their jobs also on the line so that they're tethered to the bad apples, that is when you're gonna see more change. We just need enforcement of that rule outside of the context of other citizens needing to record and film.
Yeah, and here's the other part of that, and that's very well said. The other part of that is, if you are a good cop, if you call yourself a good cop, and you do nothing while bad cops define your profession, whatever stigma is connected to your industry, you deserve it.
Yep.
Because you failed to say a damn thing when they were violating the rights of our brothers and our sisters, fellow citizens, humanity. What job? There's no job on the planet that will cause me to sell out my very soul. I promise you this, Adrienne, if that woman who's a cop, if she would not have had that uniform on and she saw a man kick a woman on the ground like that, she would have said, oh my God, I can't believe that. That's horrible. If this black officer did not have the context of that uniform and he saw somebody manhandle his mama like that, I promise you he would be appalled. But in the context of that damn uniform, all of a sudden your ethics become situational. Your morality becomes massaged. It doesn't make sense to sell out who you are, your soul, if you have one, in order to have a job like that. I don't want that job.